I will be talking about malachite. Malachite was given the name Lu Qing, which means green clear, or Shi Qing, which means emptiness stone. The name Shi Qing, or emptiness stone, implies that it forms in an empty space. The name malachite is believed to come from the word in Greek which means mallow leaf, Malocatus, and mallow leaf has a similar color to malachite, which is why people think it may have been called that. Malachite is opaque. It appears in varying shades of green with concentric rings and bands. In nature, it is usually found in a globular form, but it can also appear fibrous. It may be found in the form of stalagmites, but it is rare to find individual malachite crystals. Malachite is a carbonate, which gives it the ability to regulate movement. The presence of water in malachite gives it a strong ability to conduct and retain energy. Chemically, malachite is composed of copper carbonate hydroxide. Copper is a conductor of qi. Copper also mends the bones, purifies the blood, and penetrates to the marrow. Malachite is formed when copper deposits interact with external environmental factors, such as oxidation or the carbonic acid from rainwater that has affected the water table. Other environmental factors also play a role in altering metals and minerals in the Earth's crust, creating a new stone. Historically, malachite was used as dye or ink for icon paintings. In ancient Egypt, the color green symbolized new life and fertility. Ancient Egyptians referred to the eternal paradise they believed awaited them in the afterlife as the field of malachite. Malachite was used to protect one from evil. It can be found worldwide, but popular locations include Africa, Mexico, France, Israel, Australia, South New Wales in particular, and the Southwest United States. Primarily, malachite is a regulating stone. It can be used to regulate the heartbeat, the blood pressure, and the menstrual cycle. Having a descending nature, malachite acts as a purgative and promotes the descent and release of pathology. It is hydrating and nourishing to yin. By nourishing body fluids, malachite helps generate the yin required to expel pathology. It has a high conductivity because of its high water content. Malachite can be used to cleanse and do energy work on the auric field. Malachite purifies the auric field by ionizing the water that is evaporating around the body, which is the same concept as a waterfall. Malachite has a harmonizing effect on the middle burner, which includes the spleen, stomach, and small intestine meridians. So what are the functions and uses? Well, malachite has a monoclinic crystal structure and an affinity for a rare temperament, which is predominant fire with weak metal. Monoclinic crystals are beneficial for purification. Purification often requires that we remain calm and relaxed, and monoclinic crystals help us do that. Purification involves recognizing the need for change, embracing change, and not running away from it, and not running away from dissatisfaction in general. Monoclinic crystals are also beneficial for unhappiness, leading to agitation. Anatomically, they are associated with the extremities and the flexibility of the arms, wrists, hands, fingers, legs, ankles, feet, and toes. Monoclinic crystals can also be used to affirm the abundant fire and weak metal temperament. When fire becomes overbearing, it leads to an imbalance in the generating cycle. The relationship between metal and fire is fundamentally destructive. Metal is melted by excessive fire and becomes weak. So those with predominant fire and weak metal may have an underlying contradiction of character, and this can play itself out as guilt over a lack of organization. Organization seems difficult because life is not naturally organized. It is expansive and volatile. And there may be problems finishing projects because there is an abundance of creative energy which comes from the heart, but it is too scattered and not well contained by the metal element. Malachite regulates the chi of the liver, spleen, and stomach meridians, and it is indicated for premenstrual syndrome, menstrual cramps and irregular periods, headaches, high or low blood pressure, and intermittent muscular pain. Its harmonizing effect on the middle burner makes it beneficial for treating the signs and symptoms of overactive liver chi attacking the spleen, with symptoms that include nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and abdominal distension. Malachite relieves constriction in the diaphragm and clears the heat that results from it. This helps with panic attacks and post-traumatic stress disorder. It harmonizes the stomach and spleen and can be used to treat sudden turmoil disorder, which presents with simultaneous vomiting and diarrhea. This stone is also beneficial for people with diabetes. It nourishes the spleen and helps the spleen increase its production of blood. And it is useful for treating deficiency of the spleen, which may present with excessive thinking, loss of short-term memory, diarrhea, and dysentery. Malachite nourishes liver blood and can pacify wind, a pathological factor that causes headaches and, in severe cases, strokes. Wind is often caused by poorly nourished liver blood, or yin, which fails to contain the naturally ascending yang energy of the liver itself. Malachite is indicated for wind which results from liver blood deficiency, especially when that deficiency has been caused by excessive heat with symptoms such as epilepsy or seizures. And anger can cause heat, or any stagnant emotion can cause heat. And anger is the emotion associated with the liver, so it is good to release emotions. Malachite nourishes liver blood and brings blood to the eyes. The eyes are the sensory organ associated with the liver meridian. And malachite is beneficial for acute episodes of conjunctivitis, damage to the optic nerve, and floaters in the visual field. Additionally, malachite soothes muscle tension and cramps, neck, shoulder, and pelvic tension, dysmenorrhea, and dizziness. It cools the liver blood and can treat insomnia, resulting from too many daily distractions or sleep disorders caused by a lack of comfort with oneself. Malachite will move the blood and chi inward and downward, and this means it is useful for treating amenorrhea, which is delayed menstruation or scanty menstruation, delayed labor, high blood pressure, asthma, and constipation. It can also secure the exterior and is helpful for protecting against electromagnetic radiation from cell phones or X-rays. It clears heat in the lungs and helps clear nasal congestion. And here are some points that you can use for nasal congestion. Li20 is one, the one in white, and they align with the sinuses of the face. Big tongue is another one. Malachite has an astringent nature and can stop leakages from the body, which may present with symptoms such as diarrhea, excessive sweating, or excessive weight loss. Emotionally, malachite helps establish adequate liver blood, which in turn helps us feel more comfortable with ourselves. If the liver chi is sluggish, it can lead to the feeling of not having enough time to accomplish goals. Malachite encourages the liver chi to flow more smoothly and helps eliminate any feelings of resentment or frustration that come about when we feel like we do not have enough time. So, what are the practical applications? Well, first, a word of caution. Malachite is a very strong conductor of electricity, and it is traditionally only used for a short period of time and for acute conditions that require immediate attention. It is very moving. Wearing it too often can lead to imbalances, such as early menstrual periods, and its descending nature makes it inappropriate for use during pregnancy, unless, of course, your intention is to go into labor. Malachite creates a strong directed force, especially if it is cut into the form of a six-sided generator crystal. It can be used for very short periods, 5 minutes at a time ideally, to consolidate the body's defensive chi, the protective chi, in a specific area, mobilize the pathology, and descend it so that it can be purged. Place a malachite sphere on the navel for 5 minutes to release wounds from past trauma, such as with sexual abuse. Hold this sphere for 5 minutes to work with post-traumatic stress disorder or panic attacks. Rub malachite along areas of stagnation, such as on the neck or shoulders, to move blood and expel wind. Wear a malachite pendant with the stone touching the center of the chest, directly between the nipples, on a point known as Ren 17, or conception vessel 17, to establish permanent changes in the digestive system. Massage, place, or tape malachite on the back of the head, on the back of the neck, that is, for 20 minutes to calm the mind and settle the thoughts. This placement is useful for treating insomnia as well. On the depression on either side of the nostrils, on a point known as large intestine 20. You can also hold the stone in the hands to drain sinus congestion. You can place it on areas of pain to relieve a headache. And you can rub the stone on the soles of the feet to reduce seizures, high blood pressure, or symptoms of asthma. This is the kidney 1 point, the beginning point of the kidney meridian. You can rub the stone on areas of pain to treat sciatica, and on the eyes to treat swelling or redness. You can also place the stone in the depression underneath the cheekbone, below the outer corner of the eye, on a point known as small intestine 18, to move chi in the sinew channels of the bladder, gallbladder, and stomach meridians, which may be causing sciatic pain. Place the stone on a point 2 thumbs width lateral to the navel on a point known as stomach 25 to treat constipation. And this is a principal point for constipation, especially when placed on the left side. Place malachite on the chest to attract chi to the region and to release deeply buried emotions. Children can play with the stone barefoot and roll it around on the soles of their feet to address poor skeletal development. The ancient physician Li Shizhen noted that malachite has an effect on the uterine muscles. It was traditionally used to promote labor. Place it on the crest of the trapezius muscle, halfway between the prominence of the seventh cervical vertebra, which is the largest bone of the spine, and the tip of the acromion process of the shoulder blade. This point is called gallbladder 21 and is used to induce labor. Place the stone on the lower abdomen for delayed menstruation or delayed labor. You can rub the cuticles to treat pain in the sinews and neuropathy, and these are the Jing-Well points. Here is a protocol to release repressed trauma. First, place malachite on the midline of the abdomen, in the V shape where the ribs meet the base of the sternum, on a point known as Ren 15, or place it on the center of the chest, directly between the nipples on Ren 17. Next, place bloodstone or malachite directly below the base of the tailbone to open the meridian that governs the circuitry between the middle and lower burners and to release deeply held emotions. After that, you can place tree agate on the midline of the lower abdomen, on the upper border of the pubic bone, on a point known as Ren 2, to pull the shock and trauma out of the lower burner. During this process, hold malachite in each hand to prevent the repressed trauma from moving from one side of the body to the other. Malachite can also be powdered and mixed with a medium to make a paste and applied to fractures. When placed in the living room, it supports lively social interactions. It can make a very small thing appear grand, so it should be used judiciously. And here are some popular combinations. This stone is often used with other stones that affect the defensive level in order to stimulate a quick reaction. It amplifies and consolidates chi in this outermost defensive level, the protective level. Combine malachite with azurite to consolidate chi and send it downward. Here is a stone of malachite combined with azurite. They frequently occur together. This type of stone is useful for clearing heat that is aggravating the emotions. Malachite and azurite are useful for migraines that present with photosensitivity. You can work with malachite on its own for 3 days and follow that by working with azurite for 3 days. Then repeat as needed. Combine malachite with chrysocolla to treat the signs and symptoms of wind. When working through past traumas, use a tiger's eye crystal to remain grounded, gain insight into buried emotions, and help initiate the process of resolution. Tiger's eye contains hematite, which is grounding. And bloodstone also contains hematite, which is why the protocol for transforming trauma had bloodstone included. Malachite is a soft stone and should not be used on its own to make an elixir. However, a potentiated clear quartz crystal can be used. Still, this elixir should only be used for a short period of time, 2 or 3 days ideally, and for acute conditions such as an infection. And if after 2 or 3 days there is no change, a different treatment strategy should be utilized. So there are some cautions and contraindications when using this stone. It should only be used for short periods of time for acute conditions, and it is not indicated for pregnancy. If you are making the elixir, use a potentiated clear quartz crystal in its place. Another caution is that this stone should not be set in silver. You can cleanse and recharge malachite with hematite or place it in direct sunlight for 3 to 6 hours to recharge. It should not be submerged in water because of its high copper content. Malachite requires frequent cleansing. It has a tendency to accumulate energy and electromagnetic radiation and can transfer the energy back to the user if not regularly discharged. And here are some images of malachite. Well, thank you for joining me tonight in Secrets of the Stones. Hope you're having a wonderful evening, and I'll see you next time.